Winner Death Game 2020.
Round 8.
Sounds right.
We got Ray here.
I'm just trying to find my zen right now.
Do you want to fucking speak your piece?
No, not really, because technical issues, and that's all I need to speak on that. And then it's over and done with. We figured it out. We are now here to present to you this part of the death game.
So we added this, another bracket to the death game because, what was it? Before it was originally just the 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then we added, what was it? Maple Story versus Inspector.
At this point, have you forgotten the real name of the show?
Beaufry.
Okay.
I don't know the full title.
I didn't want to get hurt, so I raised my defense to the max or something like that.
Impressive.
But then we decided to add another bracket to this, so that Inspector had its own little competition instead of just going immediately into the semifinals. It is going up against ID Invaded, partially on a recommendation from Ray.
Very much so.
Tell us about it, Ray.
Well, ID Invaded. I'll just give you the synopsis.
Now, is it ID or is it id?
It can be either or, I think.
It's probably supposed to be id, but whatever.
Well, both lead into it because they're trying to ID murderers by going through.
I mean, the fact that they're both capitalized, it's probably ID.
It's probably, yeah. But there's no...
Yeah.
Point being is...
No one says the name of the title.
It's a show. That is a show. No. It's a show. It's a show about...
Well, good night, everybody.
I know, right? A group of detectives that use the subconscious inkling to kill from serial killers, or the intent to kill from serial killers, to ID them.
And how do they use that ID, right? Or that subconscious?
They drop a person into the subconscious who's not 100% aware that they are in the subconscious. Mind you, these are complete spoilers for the first episode.
Oh yeah,
this is up to episode 4.
I know,
yeah.
But I also I know we're entering it into that far, but the first episode is so impactful in my mind, as far as seeing the kind of twist at the end where it ended up being one of the detectives who was formerly part of the team that is using this technology to find serial killers. But he kind of went rogue. Not necessarily went rogue, but he had lost his family in an incident with another serial killer. And that allowed him, and plus his time being subjected to all these serial killer mindsets, allowed him to kind of tweak the way he speaks to convince certain people to kill themselves.
Well, he had to have had that beforehand, though, because of the prerequisite for entering the ID.
Correct.
Or the id. Sorry, God, I'm
See, you guys are talking about the show, but you're not saying what the show is.
The show is
basically
it's a procedural.
It's Psychopaths, but Psychopaths was chocolate, and Psychonauts, and that was peanut butter, and they just
with a little bit of Minority Report sprinkled on the top.
Yeah. So it's like white chocolate Reese's
Correct.
Cups.
Yeah, and there's various members, and there's some that are on the field, kind of tracking the particles that they collect via I don't even
with a magic
remember.
mind reading gun.
I don't even
Cognition particles.
There's
using the Watanabe engine.
Right.
Or it's not called that.
But what it's called, it does
Mizuguchi or something.
Well, it leads into some sort of folklore that I'm not 100% aware of.
It has to do with the lake with the axe, right?
I think so.
But
I think that name sounds like it might be that.
I
didn't think about that before.
I just thought, it's very compelling that each of these, it's more of it's kind of presented in an anthology sort of way. With the first 2 episodes being about one serial killer, then they move on to the next one, and then you see it's just kind of, let's see how they're subconscious and how they figure it out and how they, sort of pick out the pieces in the ID well, is what they're called, to find the serial killer and put him to justice, or her to justice.
So who's our main boy? Like, who's leading us through this?
Here's the thing: is
the brilliant detective.
Here's the thing: is
Hey.
at first you want to say it's the brilliant detective, but like the brilliant detective is only the subconscious.
Well, it's the role that is thrust upon you.
It's the role, but it's also the role based on the subconscious of the person using it. For example, yes, it is, because
Everyone's the brilliant detective, though.
everyone's a brilliant detective, but it's their mind.
I think that's like part of their program thing is that it makes them the brilliant detective. Think they're the brilliant detective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is established later on in the series that though, the only prerequisite is that you've had to kill somebody
to
in
enter
order
these
to
ID
enter
wells.
these ID wells as the brilliant detective. There are more successful ones than others.
Yeah.
They did put the one guy
He immediately
in there.
kept dying.
Right. And he was not successful at all. So that's why I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, yes, everyone can be the brilliant detective, but there's varying degrees of success
Yeah.
for that brilliant detective based on the person who's using its own subconscious.
Okay.
And how they
that's what
process
you're talking
that.
about. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
So-
know that's what you're referring to. Yeah.
Right. So, and then you can also say the little, she's not a girl. She's not a little girl. They say she's 25 or 26.
I think she's,
I think they
she's
said-
a grown adult.
They said 23, but I know the kindergartner you're talking about.
Correct. But she's also she's in the field, so she is more of our proxy for the field sort of work that this group does, while our main protagonist, the one who plays the brilliant detective, but I can't remember his real name. Doesn't matter.
You're right.
Pink-haired dude,
Yeah. Pink boy.
Pink Boy, is our
Pink.
kind of
Exclamation
proxy
point.
for our viewing of the wells, the ID wells, whatever you want to call them.
H.G. Wells.
Correct.
I do love like every time he goes in though, just because he remembers every time he comes out like what he's gone through. But every time he enters the ID well, it's a fresh start. Except
Correct.
he sees a girl named Kairu that he's like I'm the brilliant. The only thing I know about myself is that I'm a brilliant detective, and I know this
Yeah,
girl's name.
Sakaido or
And if I
whatever.
remember what.
Sakaido, I think is his name.
Yeah,
The
Sakaido, yeah, the brilliant detective Sakaido. And
But that's not the person who's using its name.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's his last name, I think.
Yeah, it's close. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Not the same.
It's
We're-
it's like a weird.
Amalgamation
Effectively, the girl
is kind of his way.
is his linchpin.
Yeah. Well,
Like
the-
Kairu is the linchpin to reality, in order to then just be a jumping off point for the rest of the investigation.
And one of the things that you guys don't know because you don't speak Japanese is that actually her name is the verb to return.
Okay.
So that actually there's even another layer there. Like yes, it's clear that she is the linchpin, but also like her name is literally like how he knows that he it's kind of how he brings himself back.
Right. And it's also established that like when dying in the they do feel it.
They feel it.
Every single time, and it is shown like that he dies in the second.
Many times.
He dies a lot in the second episode when. Well, I'm not going to give that away either, because just in case some people are just listening to this.
Is that when he's in the drill desert?
Correct, but
Okay.
I'm not going to say. Well, okay,
I wasn't going to
But-
go any further than that. I'm just trying to
right,
remember
but
which well
he
it was.
dies a lot in that, and they make a point to say like I don't think he can psychologically take it anymore because he is experiencing every single one
death.
of these deaths.
The sniper one was pretty good too.
I haven't had a bad episode yet. I think I watched I'm up to 5.
Yeah, I know
didn't
I've watched
watch-
up to 5. I haven't watched 6.
I didn't watch Circled, which I believe is 6.
I think I'm up to 7.
Oh, really? Well, one of the things that's weird about this show, and I don't know if they're doing if Funimation just fucked up, or if this is just the show doing it intentionally.
I would lean towards they fucked up just based on past.
Yeah, because like
history.
episode 1 is listed as episode 2, and 2 is 3, 3 is 4, 4 is 5, blah blah blah.
That's just weird. But
Yeah, like I don't know if like it's gonna end with a precursor episode with like with like his family getting attacked, with like the Challenger or whatever
Right.
that serial killer was.
Speaking of like kind of the overarching plot. What?
No, I went after I said that. Eric just shook his head, just like, no, they're not gonna do that.
No?
Oh yeah, he's already dead.
Who's already dead?
Well, no, it was
No, the
gonna be,
Challenger.
oh yeah, no, I'm sure. I think they said he's dead in like episode 5, right? But like
What Challenger?
the Challenger was the name of the serial killer that killed his daughter because he like issued her a challenge and to like basically.
Oh no, they already
fight.
established she was dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Oh,
like I figured I didn't
show
know if
it.
it was gonna be like a
No,
flashback.
that's I okay.
I don't
go
know.
ahead. No, but bringing that back in, there is that overarching subplot of this Johnny Walker character.
Oh yeah,
who-
John
who-
Walker.
Texas Ranger.
Right, who's dressed up kind of like a ringmaster, kind of like the cat from The Cat Returns.
He looks like Latigo from Invisible.
Fair enough. And
Or the cat from Whisper of the Heart. It's the
what-
same cat.
I know it's the same cat. That he is somehow influencing these serial killers in one way, shape, or form. Possibly in the same way that our main protagonist, Pink Boy, influences the killers to commit suicide. At least that's heavily hinted upon.
Well, yeah, like in like the other in a lot of the wells too, when because he can sometimes find the person that's like the killer themselves and talk to them, and if they actually address like the fact that John Walker is somewhere in here, they're like, hey, don't go near that guy. They're like deathly afraid of him.
Yeah,
Like,
the
he's a
victim,
monster.
The subconscious of the murderers are always afraid,
Of this John Walker
or
character.
they're very defensive against this John Walker character. But that being said, I think we laid enough groundwork for that.
Yeah.
I like its pacing. I like its presentation. I like its style.
It's
I
real
really
pretty.
like its opening.
Its opening is real good. I'm really sad because every time like when they show in the opening him like assembling the world with his like half arm,
Yeah.
and it just makes me sad because I'm like, God, I really wanted that to be more of the show.
Well, I mean, that's
Go
Because
play
it was
Metroid
so
Prime.
cool. Huh?
Said go play Metroid Prime.
Oh.
that's ID invaded, it evaded, whatever.
So you guys liked it?
I
I
liked
like
it.
it a lot. It's this is gonna be a hard one. Like I said before we started recording.
Well, next we have Inspector.
We
The
do.
other half of this coin. Mm-hmm. I put off watching this show until last Saturday because I thought we were gonna be recording it then. Because I just I really liked the first episode, but it just didn't grab me like as much as like other shows did for some reason. But so I just ended up like binging like the other three or four episodes. I forget how many I watched exactly, but
Hopefully 4.
yeah, no, I got it at least up to episode 4. But oh man, this show is pretty good. I'm pretty invested
So-
now.
Where ID invaded, in my mind, excels at psychological suspense. Inspector excels at supernatural dialogue.
Yeah.
If I can put it that succinctly.
Yeah.
That's really the end of my thought there. And I really
Like-
do appreciate dialogue more than anything.
That
most
second
of the time.
episode, that second, I think was it yeah, it was just the second episode where they're talking to where she's talking to the giant snake, right?
That's the whole second episode.
Yeah.
The whole second
Oh, I
episode
couldn't
and
remember if
most
it
of the
bled
third.
over into
They make
3 or
soup,
no.
then talk to a snake.
Correct.
Yeah.
which I was zoned in. I loved every single minute of that conversation.
That whole episode was basically a dialogue from a Phoenix Wright game.
Sure.
Just like constantly, just like, all right, I'm gonna make this point. Then the opposition pokes like one hole in it. It's like, okay, I gotta make a whole new case around like this.
Yeah, when you put it
one
that way.
hole.
Yeah, when you put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. How about you, Eric? Do
I
you see it?
I mean, I see what he's saying.
Right.
Sure. I wouldn't compare it because I don't really care for fantasy.
Well, yeah, I say I don't think you
Right,
played
right,
those,
well,
but yeah.
yeah.
It's not my cup of tea.
But your thoughts?
I really like Inspector. I think I said that in the first episode about it. I don't know. I saw a video, not to talk about someone else, but I saw a video of someone else talking about stuff coming out this season, and they really were down on the show, and I was like, what's up with that? Because so they said essentially that the show presents itself like an action show, and then it proceeds to not be an action show. To which I was like, I don't really think this show really says it's going to be an action show. There's very little action in the first episode.
Yeah.
And I mean, based on the power set of the characters, it doesn't seem like fighting would end up being like a Rosario Vampire situation where it's incredibly one-sided. Or at least very unsatisfying in a fight.
Although the fight that we do get, I think like, what was it, 3 or no, that was in 4, I think.
It's in 4.
Yeah, where our main girl goes up against the ghost.
That's in 3.
That was in 3?
She fights the
Idol.
Iron Lady.
Yeah,
in
Iron
3.
Lady.
And then someone else fights him in 4.
I say that was a pretty fun fight.
No, it's not that the fights aren't fun. I don't think that the fights are meant to be
That's
the focus.
not the emphasis, no.
No, that's not what the show's about.
It's very much like dialogue and like not in
world
again,
building.
I
Not even world building.
I think I said this, but not in like a quippy Buffy the Vampire way. But like it just seems like the dialogue is fairly smartly written. And I've heard some people complaining that are like, oh, look at this little like cosplay girl. Uh-oh. She likes this boy. Uh-oh, he's got a girlfriend. Better wait 2 years. And it's like, is that... Boy, I think you were paying attention to the wrong details.
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, if there is,
Yeah,
to those people, you dumb.
I don't want to say that, but I do.
I will say that.
I do think that you're focusing on the wrong part of it.
Yeah, that's not the thing that this is. Like,
I stand by it.
like that. Also, when she's like talking with like the ex-girlfriend, like that was also I think episode 3, and just like show, or was that 4?
The conversation starts in 3 and it's most of 4.
Yeah, and she shows like she goes into like, oh yeah, I'm going out with your ex-boyfriend or your ex-fiance.
Yeah, that's how
I think-
episode 3 ends. Then she punches her in the face.
Well, okay, like I'm like legitimately though, those people that are seeing that dialogue as like little girl, like
Well, like I said, I don't want to blow up people who aren't here.
no, but here's the thing: is they're seeing it, and it is important to see, and here's why: is because you have to. What makes the show, in my mind, and the dialogue so successful is that there are moments where she is that little girl and is just like, oh, I'm gonna get the boy and everything, but then it is juxtaposed by the literal reasons why she is called the goddess of wisdom amongst the yokai and all that stuff.
All the yokais and brokais.
Right, where she's very astute about situations and situational analysis and understanding motives and all these things that are happening within this world to guide the yokai through. So having that duality of the character between this rascal doesn't know anything about relationships and oh no about little girl, to I'm gonna be very adult about this situation and figure it out for you type deal. I think is nice, and that lends itself to the dialogue. So to those people that only see that half, I mean, they're missing an entire other half of the show
Or ignoring it.
on purpose. To which I reply,
Yeah.
you dumb.
Well, they're just like looking at the surface level. They're not actually like, they're not going any deeper than that.
I mean, the same person also is on record saying that Neon Genesis Evangelion is boring. Which, again, depending on what part of the screen you're looking at, you could definitely walk away from that show thinking that.
I could see it. I don't think it myself, but I could see it.
Well, I guess we get to the most difficult part of the night. Got to pick one of these shows. I'll go first if you guys need a minute.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to pick Inspector.
Okay.
Surprising probably no one. But
Absolutely not.
let me briefly explain my thought process. I like both these shows. I like them both a lot, actually. I wasn't expecting to like ID Invaded very much when I heard what it was, because I was like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, so I remember we were talking about it to you a little bit, like a week or two ago, and you were just like,
I don't care.
You were not interested at all.
Well, yeah, and again, that's probably part of why I'm still going to pick Inspector, is because I prefer the fantasy angle over the technology one every time, because invariably we're going to get to a point in a technology show where you're going to start talking about technology bullshit, and even if you try to explain it, you won't be able to, and that's a big sticking point for me. Don't act like this isn't a fantasy if you can't explain your shit.
Well, it's fun too for because ID Invaded, for their kind of their band-aid for, hey, this is why we can't explain it. It's like
The wind blew. Wind blew is what happened.
Not even that. It's like the reason they can't explain how their technology works is because it's literally but it's a political process. It's too much it's red tape that they have to cut through to get
it's compartmentalized.
The guy the guy who built it isn't saying anything. Also, we don't know where he is.
It's compartmentalized.
Get farther in the show. They said where he is.
Well, yeah, it's their get out of jail free card for hey, this is why we don't have to explain this.
And I totally get it.
Oh yeah, no.
Well, hey,
at least they have that built in.
You know what? If you're gonna build in an excuse, fine. But I think that the biggest point where I was like, no, shut up.
The wind.
Was the fact that you could blow away
brain particles,
cognition particles, which are like feeling fingerprints in time and space.
Yeah,
and the wind blew them away,
which is a BS.
Which was like, okay, well, the other show, they talked around this fucking snake for 20 minutes because he was like, I don't know, this seems pretty sus, and she basically tricked him.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of like a similar situation. And I'm like, I like what they did with the snake better. So I'm voting for Inspector.
Fair.
Wind blowing aside.
Uh-huh.
I'm voting for ID Invaded. Just because I do enjoy the technology aspect. And we'll pick it over fantasy most often than not.
It's like I said, I just want it to make sense.
Right.
And I feel like that doesn't.
And again, I genuinely liked both these shows. I just think knowing what I like, and I'm gonna get more out of ID Invaded, just because I get that Minority Report vibe, and that sort of. I like it's more like futurist, it's not too far in the future. That stuff could, effectively be out there.
Okay.
We don't know.
If you say so.
It could. Okay, what I'm saying is more believable than a flying car. That's what I meant, is like...
But there is a flying car.
You know what I meant.
But someone modified a Volkswagen Beetle to have wings that can fly.
I know, I understand. I get.
Not Beetle wings, DJ. They're plane wings.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking
it's a biplane.
Blade Runner flying car type deal.
Oh no, that's stupid.
Okay.
This isn't BioShock Infinite.
I'm voting ID Invaded.
Well, that's great because I'm voting Inspector. Because I actually went into this thing I was going to vote ID Invaded, but then us talking about Inspector just reminded me how much I enjoyed the discourse between all the characters. Listening to that is just so much fun.
We didn't even talk about the fucking cabal of cow monster eating child murderers.
And an idol wielding a steel beam we mentioned in passing.
Yeah, no, I mean there's a lot of meat in this sandwich, and a lot of it is I think it's Kudan. A lot of it's Kudan meat. And some mermaid sashimi.
But yeah, no, Inspector. It's just those characters, and then just listening to them talk to each other, and just how they all kind of play off each other. Granted, yes, it is the definition of hey, the only people that exist in this world are the ones that are related to the plot, but that's okay. That doesn't bother me so much in this show.
It's not true. 100%. It's not true.
It's 1,000% true.
Someone was driving the bus.
Yeah, somebody was driving the car that almost got hit.
Who?
Doesn't matter. They exist.
Exactly. They didn't even get a name.
But
They couldn't even make up a name for it.
It was
like I said, it doesn't bother me, but
it was
I'm just
obviously
saying.
Cap'n from Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Shit. Damn, dude.
I know.
Damn.
So I guess the question becomes, what do we pit this show against next,
Yeah, right.
so that it can face off in the season finale?
Oda Cinnamon Nobunaga.
I'm gonna hard veto that. Ray, do you have
Oh
any,
yeah, no, I'm gonna veto it.
and any shows that you think we should watch? With the understanding we'd have to watch like 8 episodes of
Say
it.
Plunder is coming back.
Plunderer back from the grave.
Let's see. We have.
No.
No,
if anything comes
you
back,
already,
it's fucking
you
not
already,
funny.
Oh,
you already
I know.
what I'm going to
Seton
say.
Academy, join the pack.
Absolutely not.
Ray.
No.
It's actually really good.
It's
but
actually
I'm
really
sure
good.
it is.
I was gonna suggest the Toilet Ghost show.
I was going to suggest keep my hands off or whatever.
No, because then Trash Baby will be able to be part of the episode.
That's fine.
I can call him Trash Baby because he's
I was
not
going to
here.
watch that or that Infinite
Dendrogram, because we need another video game show this season.
I was okay with that.
Well, we don't have to. This show can just fight the winner of the final round.
We can do that. I really wanted to go up against Seton Academy because that show is just. Eric was 1000% right. That show is so good.
It's so good. I guess the audience, you will find out one way or the other
Yeah, right?
next week whether or not we pick the show for that.
The fuck?
What?
He just looked up what Seton Academy looks like. Good night, everybody.